You spend tons of time looking for hashtags to then get no reach whatsoever from them? Don't worry, I got your back. If you want to know exactly how to use Instagram hashtags, I'm sharing the best tactics with you so that you can improve your Instagram hashtag strategy, reach new people, and actually get discovered. Ready? Let's do this. Hi my lovely people, it's Natalia and welcome back to my channel where I share super actionable ideas on content creation for entrepreneurs and creatives. And today I'm bringing you a video on Instagram hashtag strategy so the hashtags can finally start working for you. It's definitely a highly requested subject. I know hashtags can be a bit flimsy and it's not that easy to get them right, but hopefully with all that I'm sharing today, you'll get some really useful pointers to start growing with hashtags and improve your hashtag performance. So what have we got in store? I'll be talking about what the role of hashtags is, why you should still use them in your Instagram posts, why they may not be working for you, and what mistakes people make with hashtags that stop them from getting discovered, what the best hashtag strategies are, and how to actually research and find high-performing hashtags. There's a lot to cover today, so without further ado, let's jump right in. Point 1, what's the role of hashtags? The most common way of understanding what hashtags do is that they help others discover relevant posts. So if someone views a hashtag they're interested in, they can see all the different posts in there so yours can get on their radar too. And also when a user is following a hashtag, a post that's tagged with it has a chance to actually appear in their feed even if they don't follow you directly. But that's actually not the only role that hashtags play on Instagram. By using them on your content, you're categorizing it and making sure it's interpreted correctly by the algorithm. And through that, Instagram better understands your niche and pushes your content to the right people. Point 2, why should you still use hashtags? I know that it's often said that hashtags don't work, but they do, and they can really increase your reach. Bigger accounts don't need to use hashtags at all because they have an engaged audience and other means of being discovered, very often because their content is being reshared constantly. Are you a big account with a very high engagement rate and high shareability? No? Then use hashtags on all your content, and of course, watch this video to the very end to learn how to get better at it. But before we move on to the strategies, I think a small mindset talk is in order. You need to understand that hashtags won't work each time and be okay with it. It's just like with engagement. Sometimes a post goes well, sometimes it flops, and it happens to the bigger Instagrammers just as much as to the micro creators. And it's always about constantly testing, analyzing, tweaking, and updating to stay fresh and relevant. And if you see your hashtags are not working, try new ones and don't reuse the ones that didn't serve you. There's actually another reason why you shouldn't ditch hashtags. As I mentioned, they're here to feed Instagram useful information, and the categorization of your content is just as important as reaching new accounts. This is Instagram's way of knowing even more about the post you're sharing and pushing it to the right audience. And since Instagram is moving towards becoming a bit more SEO-oriented platform, keywords are becoming more important. You've probably noticed that if you now search for something, you're shown general keywords first rather than the top accounts, tags, and locations, although you can still access them, of course. And this tells me that just like with so many other platforms, searching is becoming more nuanced, so using hashtags will still be very much relevant on IG. And besides, the Explore page is based on the algorithm, and hashtags are a vital part of it as well. So do yourself a favor and use hashtags, please. Point 3, why they're not working for you. As to why I'm hearing that hashtags don't work, listen up. If you're saying you're not growing because hashtags don't work for you, you're not getting it right. I get that if you do well with hashtags, you get a chance to be discovered by so many people on Instagram and gain more traction outside of your current followers. But that doesn't mean you should solely rely on hashtags to get noticed. It's exactly because they're so flimsy that you shouldn't think of it as an only way to get new followers. And there are other ways like building real connections with people, creating valuable content that your followers share, landing on the Explore page, or using Reels, which have a brilliant algorithm that's very favorable to the creators who use it. And I'll be very frank, most of the time that hashtags don't work for you is because you're not creating valuable content or not speaking to your dream audience. Overall, these tactics and focusing on producing helpful content targeted towards an ideal client is what's going to get you discovered, not hashtags. That being said, there are a few mistakes that you need to avoid to increase your chances of getting discovered through hashtags. Point number 4, what mistakes are stopping you from getting discovered? You know what bugs me? What really bugs me is when I hear you should use 13 hashtags under your post or whatever other arbitrary number that gets thrown in there. What usually follows is, I don't know why it works, but trust me, it does. And first of all, just because something worked on one account or few doesn't mean it's some universal rule to follow and you need to follow it blindly. Secondly, if Instagram gives you the option to use 30 hashtags under your post, why opt for less? The more you include, the higher the chance you get of getting discovered, especially when you're growing or still figuring out the best hashtags for different types of content that you produce. That being said, if you've done your research and you can't find 30 great relevant hashtags, just don't sweat it. It's not the end of the world if you do use a few less from time to time. You know what's more of a mistake? Using huge hashtags, which takes us to the second mistake, using hashtags that are too big. If your hashtags are too big, meaning they've been included under millions or even billions of posts, then you're wasting your time, and let me explain why. Say you have an online store and you're getting ready for Valentine's Day with some awesome deals. Naturally, you'd be inclined to include hashtag love and Valentine's Day, right? Wrong. Hashtag love contains a staggering 2.1 billion posts and hashtag Valentine's Day 22.8 million posts. I invite you to actually go under a huge hashtag like that, choose the recent tab and swipe down to refresh it a few times. You'll see how many posts are tagged with it almost every second. What this means is that if you tag one of your posts with a huge hashtag, you're getting buried under a post after a post after a post, just as the ones you've just seen. There's really no point in adding huge generic hashtags like this because the chances of getting visibility this way are slim to none. So no more hashtag travel, hashtag art, or hashtag entrepreneur for you guys. Using hashtags that are too small. But let's reverse the scenario and take a look at these micro hashtags that you may be using. If they have less than 10K, less than 1K, or the absolute worst option, which is 100 plus, it's just not worth bothering with those. Unless you're creating your own brand hashtag, trying to build it up, having a challenge, things of that nature, then just don't use these tiny hashtags at all because they've either been completely abandoned or even more likely people are just not interested in them, not watching them, not finding them relevant, so basically they're not active. If they're not active or not active enough, they won't give you enough traction. Always check if a hashtag you're planning on using has some recent posts in it as well. If not, it's a clear sign it's dead. This can actually happen to both small and big hashtags, so regularly check the ones you're using. Using banned hashtags. Using banned hashtags means your post is hidden from hashtag views and searches. It has no chance of being featured on the Explore page, it's not being pushed to your followers, and the only way it can be viewed is through your profile, and obviously we don't want that. It's a huge waste of time to create a post and then just sits there and doesn't generate much traffic. But now, you may say you're not using any hashtags that are obviously shady or suspicious, but you need to understand that some completely harmless and innocent hashtags are on the list too. I'm going to get back to hashtag Valentine's Day. Tagging your post with this tag is not only bad because it's a huge hashtag, but also because it's banned. Yes, I know, like, what's wrong with it, right? Well, Instagram hates spam, and even if there's nothing dangerous being posted with the hashtag, if it contains a lot of spammy content, it's going to be blocked either temporarily or permanently. And because of that fluctuation, it's always best to check your hashtags regularly. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's really important. Using the same hashtags in the same order. Speaking of spammy behaviors, did you know that you shouldn't use the same hashtags all the time? And to add to it, you shouldn't really use them in the same order each time as well. Instagram is very clever, and if it sees repetition, it may flag your content as spam. Any behavior that Instagram views as bot-like is going to limit your reach, even if on the surface everything seems fine. And that's why you should have different sets of hashtags for different subjects, more on that later, and shuffle them as well, using not relevant hashtags. And while you're picking the right ones for your content and shuffling, always check that they stay very relevant to the post you're creating. If there's a disconnect between what's in the caption, in the photo, and in the hashtags, Instagram will know. Point 5, what are the best hashtag strategies? First of all, don't overthink it. As I mentioned before, hashtags are just one part of a bigger puzzle, and they should be a part of an overall strategy, not the main star of the show. Good, valuable content should take the lead, and hashtags can only support it. In my opinion, people focus way too much on hashtags instead of spending all that time on thinking through what they're posting, to whom and why. And that's why for me, the best strategy is to have a spreadsheet, a table, a Notion page, or any other tool and research your hashtags there. If you've already identified your content pillars, this should be really easy. If you've not, be sure to check out this video next, and it will definitely make your hashtag research much easier. So let's say that you're a language teacher and your content pillars on Instagram are grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, culture, and mindset. This is a great opportunity to create different hashtag collections for each and test them out in practice, continually improving them and tweaking the list. These should be specific to your business, to your niche, and even to your location, provided you are a local business. But you may now think these are just a few general content pillars and you said to be relevant to the post I'm creating. Isn't it too broad? Yes, the pillars are the main subjects of your account, but all of them have tons of sub-themes. As an example, within the culture pillar, you could be talking about food, holiday and observances, most interesting places, differences between the countries a language is spoken in, etc. You could have different collections of hashtags for these sub-themes, or opt to change just a part of your hashtag collection. So say you haven't identified 30 hashtags which work for the culture pillar. You could replace 10 or 5 of those with something more specific to the sub-theme you're talking about. Let's briefly talk about creating your own branded hashtags. I think it can be a great tool to gather your posts that fall into a special category or use it to interact with your audience. If you're an educator of any kind, you could use a special hashtag to run a challenge or a contest for your followers. When tagged with a specific hashtag, these posts are much easier to follow and view at a glance. Moreover, if you're creating a library of some sort, it may be well worth having a hashtag as well. So say you're a food blogger, you could be gathering all your recipes under one hashtag. As to the very popular dilemma of where to put hashtags, below the caption or in the comments, I have to say it doesn't really matter. I personally go for the comment option simply because it gives me more space in the caption. I have a tendency to write a lot. Plus, it's much less cluttered, and that's what my brain prefers in general. However, if you do opt to put hashtags in the comments, remember to do it right after posting. This way, you're not losing any time before the algorithm can analyze your content fully and push it out to other accounts, rank you within a hashtag, or even place you on the Explore page for people who it reckons would enjoy your content the most. If you don't do it straight away, you may find that you get less reach that you would normally do, so make sure you have all your hashtags available at hand and place them in the comments straight after posting. Now, let's talk about the sizes. I talked about how too large or too small hashtags are not good for growth. But once you are in the safe zone, you need to differentiate your tags based on the size as well, meaning you don't want too many highly competitive ones and not too many low competition ones. So aim to get small hashtags with a pool of 10 to 50k posts, medium hashtags with 50k to 500k posts, and bigger hashtags like 500k to 1 million. You could divide your sets of 30 hashtags to feature 7 big, 7 medium, and 7 small ones, plus 4 hashtags describing your business, niche, location, and 4 hashtags unique to the post message, and finish off with your branded hashtag. And of course, it's not some arbitrary number. You can choose to divide it into 5 groups of 6 hashtags for low, mid, and high, plus post-specific and industry-related hashtags. You can go for a couple of hashtags more in a small category or opt for more mid hashtags here and there. The point is, it's not a fixed number. It's not some super specific science. It's all about testing, and testing constantly to get the best results. And it's important to point out that it's not just the size of the hashtags that matters. There are a few other factors like how much engagement they're getting on average, how easy or hard it is to rank in the top post for that particular hashtag, or how much reach you can get if you are successful within that hashtag. That's why I'm saying hashtags are much more nuanced and it's not a clear-cut choice, universal for every account in a particular industry. It will depend on how much engagement you yourself are getting, how big your account is, etc. It's not easy to determine it yourself without extensive research. Point 6. How to research hashtags. Luckily, there are tools out there that can help you do it. The first way you can research hashtags is through Instagram itself. Search for a particular hashtag, check how many posts are there, what types of posts rank in the top posts, how often you see posts appearing in the recent tab, how much engagement the posts are getting, etc. This is of course a very lengthy process, but once you identify the core hashtags, you can then test and change them individually without having to research whole sets again. If you want to save time and research more effectively, my favorite tool is Flick. And I do realize a paid tool will not be suitable for everyone. However, I've not really found anything even remotely as good as this one, so it's well worth the investment. Basically, it effectively analyzes hashtags, giving you a general ranking for them based on all the different factors I mentioned before, so engagement, size, competitiveness, etc. But it also lets you refine your search by filtering them and shows you analytics to inform you what works for you and what doesn't. So overall, I highly recommend this tool. But if you don't want to pay for a hashtag research app, I would definitely go for Neon Tools at neontools.io, which is by far the best free app I've used. It gives you a breakdown of similar hashtags within 3 categories. So it's over 1 million, 100K to 1 million, and niche hashtags below 100K. It's something that I've used many times in the past and it worked well for me. Definitely much better than most of the free hashtag tools that were spewing huge hashtags like #love. And now for the question I love most. Natalia, isn't it easier to just go to other people who are doing well on Instagram and use the hashtags they use? Well, that's a tricky one. It's both yes and a no. First of all, yes, because you may not know what hashtags may work for you at all, especially at the beginning, and it would be a learning opportunity. But then no, because not only are you copying someone else's work, but you're also not really sure what their overall strategy is. You have no access to their analytics, so these hashtags may not even work at all, and they may be getting discovered through other means. So I'd say if you're researching other creators as an inspiration and a learning opportunity, then yes. But if you're bluntly copying all the hashtags from their posts, then it's a big no. Now that we're here, tell me what your key takeaway is from this video in the comments below. There's definitely a lot to unpack and I feel like I've only scratched the surface, but I'd love to know what new thing you've discovered here today. And if you've not identified content pillars for your brand yet, you have to watch this video next because it will help you build a hashtag collection quicker. And remember, all your actions on Instagram or any other platform should be a part of a well thought out strategy. So if you're not acting strategically, head on over to this video to build yours quickly. Hit a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more actionable content like this. Thank you so much for watching. I feel like this video has been so intense for me, so I appreciate you being here and I'll see you next time.